Hello, YouTube channel for the Hampshire UFO group. I am your leader. Oh no, I've done it again. Why? I keep trying to start this video and then just messing it up, and I'm never going to get to the end of it. I'm gonna leave that in. I'm gonna keep going. If there's any kind of weird things happening, I'm just gonna keep going because it's quite late. Yeah. So anyway, I wanted to make a video about the UFO sighting that we had as a group when we did a Skywatch 8 years ago today. Um, yeah, it was our most interesting sighting. There's only a few of us, and yeah, I'll go into more detail on. I've got a few slides I'd like to go through. Um, yeah, there's a few of us in the New Forest, and I uploaded the video just after the event to the channel, and it had over 4,000 views. So it got shared in a few places because we were all quite excited about it. Um, and yeah, I think I wanted to make a kind of end-to-end account because people who saw that video didn't realize it was part of a wider event, that strange lights had been seen at various places across the UK that night. So I gave a talk a few years ago at Birmingham UFO Group, and it talks about, or I talk about the other, or some of the other witnesses, but not even all of them. Even that talk is a little bit out of date. So I wanted to make an updated one, this being the anniversary, and also the group. I'm kind of starting the group up again. It was a bit quiet for the last few years. So yeah, I did another FOI request recently about this because I started kind of wanting to try and get to the bottom of it. So yeah, I wanted to just make a video. I was going to give a talk actually at my group. I'm kind of giving spoilers away by putting it onto YouTube, but I wanted it out there anyway so that people can see kind of the whole thing, see what they think of it. Be interested to hear people's opinions. So yeah, I've got a few slides I thought I'd put onto YouTube if this video goes okay, which it might not. Um, yeah, I'm just going to jump in and see how it goes. See how it goes. So I've called it multiple witness UFO events. That's probably a crap name. um, but what I mean, let me go on to the slides. I need to be in all of these videos. Yeah, I'm not going to make any more of these. This is a one-off. I might turn my camera off. Yeah, let me do that. Hang on. Camera. No, I can't. Yes, it's bad. Okay. No, I can't turn myself off. Okay. So I'll try and be serious because yeah, this was a serious event really. So it was a Saturday night, fairly clear night, um, and we were here uh, in the New Forest. We were actually facing north at the time because it was kind of coming to the end of the night. There was five of us there. One guy, he was going to go home. His car wouldn't start, so he was talking to the breakdown people. We were at the side of the road, so we'd come away from the field that we'd been sitting in. We were just standing at the side of the road, really, facing the field, which was north. And I'll play the UFO. I call it UFOs. Um, I've got a feeling I might know what they are, but I can't prove it, so I'm going to keep calling them UFOs, I think, uh, for now. So we saw these UFOs in the north, and they were heading northeast. And at the time, we thought, we weren't aware that other people had also seen these things, and were going to submit their own reports, which they did. So there's a website called Beams Investigations, really good site, and people across the country were reporting these objects. The first time anyone saw it was 11 p.m. and that was in St. Austell, down the southwest of the country, and I'll go on to their description in a minute. But they basically said they saw the same as what we saw. So it was seen there, seen over the New Forest, and then there's a few which seem to be fairly close together. Um, Oxford, Milton Keynes, two different sightings in Bedford, actually two or three. I'll go on to that in a bit, and one in Northampton. Um, so yeah, I didn't write a script for this video, and I'm wishing I had. I'm sure the words will come to me. Yeah, so this was a really big event. Um, did I talk about? I'm not sure if I mentioned that we used to go back to the New Forest on kind of the anniversary and do another Skywatch. Um, yeah, we used to do that. It was a bit of a thing. Um, yeah, I don't really want to go into the sentimental side of this, but there was four of us who saw these objects, and only two of us are still alive now. So yeah, so we don't do that on the anniversary anymore. Um, but anyway, I'll move on to this is what we saw. So it was myself, Dave Twine, who passed away about 2 years ago. Doug Franks, who passed away 3 years ago. He was a police officer, so when we spoke to Gary Heseltine, he was quite interested to get this documented for his police records database, but we never did do that, I think, because Doug didn't want to be identified, I think, because of his position. And then Richard Long, who's the only other person still alive, but I'm not in contact with him anymore. He lives over London way, I think. So yeah, there's four of us. Dave saw them first as three lights, three dots in the distance, just coming out from behind some trees. He had binoculars, so he put his binoculars up and he confirmed that they were orange in color. This is when I got my night vision out because it was just kind of hanging around my neck, and I started filming it. This is black and white recording, and there's no sound on here either. Let me just hit play because it's actually about 10 minutes long, so I can probably talk while it's on. So this is a 5x zoom, and it's infrared, so it picks up the light a lot better. So we didn't hear any sound, but it's hard to say how far away they were. My face being cut off on here, I'm not sure. The blue flashes, the cable kept coming loose on my equipment, but yeah, that's the only time I think it came loose. So yeah, this is a 5x zoom. It didn't really look that large to the naked eye. I did a bit of analysis. I'm not even sure if that was in my Birmingham talk. I adjusted the brightness a little bit. That bit at the start, I've got another video just of that section because we're only tracking three lights, but there was another three which we didn't we didn't know at the time. It's only reviewing this. Yeah, these were heading northeast, but there was another three lights heading north. They just looked very strange. To the naked eye and to the binoculars, they didn't look like they were flashing. It was only the infrared, I believe, that caught the flashing, and they do very unusual patterns of flashing. If it was planes or helicopters, as far as I know, and I'm not an expert at all, but they should be regular patterns. But it is possible that It's just the angle um, that I was catching them at, or they were kind of changing their positions, causing reflections, things like that. So it could be. So the first, um, I'll say the first report. I don't know if they reported it first, but they saw it earliest in the evening. The one at 11 in Cornwall. Um, they said, and I'll go on to their full description, but they said it was the same as this video, what they saw. I did a bit of really amateur maths to see kind of how fast they would be traveling if they were seen at that time at 11, and then we saw them at 11:35. I think I worked it out that they were about 300 miles an hour, which would mean they were faster than any helicopter, but still could be planes. But all of the reports say that they didn't hear any sound. Um, I think I'm a bit more skeptical in my old age that just because you couldn't hear them, maybe they were far away for everyone who reported them. Just try and get a bit more comfortable. So you see how they kind of they appear to stop flashing and just kind of brighten up. I thought that was very odd. And then the flashing just gets even more erratic. They are getting further away, and I don't know if that might have anything to do with the technology of the infrared, that it just picks stuff up um, irregularly. But there you go again, kind of stop flashing, and they seem to flare up. So Dave Twine, he was really passionate about this for a long time. He sent emails to various people, getting them to look at this footage. He did believe that it was the best UFO footage ever. Um, and yeah, I think I thought the same. I don't want to kind of skip to the end, but there is evidence that they might be planes. It is very possible that they might be. And when Dave was kind of confronted with that possibility, he shut it down straight away. He was like, "No way." Um, he's he was a plane spotter for many years, um, and he insisted that no way they were not planes. But and I still haven't got absolute confirmation, but it is fairly likely that there were three military planes in the area at that time. But I haven't had confirmation. I say I'm still trying to get it. I'm not sure if I've just given up now because the FOI requests they just don't they're not helpful, and they just kind of drain you every time you get one back and they say nope, can't help you. So I don't even know if I'm going to send another one. But there may well have been three military aircraft in the area. Um, yeah, another thing which I want to mention while this is doing its crazy flashing is when I spoke to Gary Heseltine, because he was an ex-policeman, he he said that evidentially, because these sightings were kind of different parts of the country and they don't kind of keep sight of them while we're all having the sightings, you can't say that they're the same objects. Basically, you should treat them as individual um, reports. So what was seen in Cornwall might not have been what we saw. And likewise with the other ones, which I'll go on to, Oxford and Bedford, they were similar times. They were all heading northeast, so there were similarities, but we can't say absolutely that they were the same objects. You see how I think at this point we couldn't see them with binoculars anymore. They were just too far away, I guess. But this flashing just looks crazy. It doesn't look like planes. So if it is, in my years of doing sky watches, I've never had planes look like this. In fact, I think there was a plane that went the other way a few seconds ago, which I talked over. This is pretty much the end of the footage. What happened next was my cable did come loose again, actually, and when I'd got it back in, because it was fairly cumbersome, I lost sight of them, and I was just kind of scanning around the sky trying to find them. Ended up just tracking some planes going a different direction, and that was pretty much it. Um, I will move on to the next slide, actually. Try. I think I've just started that one again. Hang on. Okay, yeah. So yeah, this is a daytime shot. We did that quite often. We'd go back in the day and take a photo. So this is the path that they were following and roughly the kind of altitude they appeared to be. And this is exactly where we're standing. There was a long road. This is RAF Stony Cross, so it was used to be a runway. It's a really long straight road. You can park your car here, and then we generally would be. Actually, can you even see my mouse? I don't know if PowerPoint's kind of showing you where my mouse is. It's kind of in the middle of the field. I'm just kind of showing where we used to skywatch quite a lot, and I think we'll probably start going back there this year, actually. Um, so yeah, that's RAF Stony Cross. But these are the reports from Beams, because it seemed that all of the other sightings were reported to Beams, which is a fairly well-known site. I think it must come up on Google searches if you want to submit reports, because they do get a lot of UFO reports. So I'm going to go through these one by one, starting with the first one, which was in Cornwall. So they saw our video before they submitted their report. In fact, that might have prompted them to get in touch. They said three flashing spheres seen flying together in perfect unison. And they said, I can confirm exactly the same sighting as linked below, but over Mevagissey, Cornwall, flying northeast. It's on the correct trajectory. Wow, thought it was just me who saw these. Look at all the similar reports on the 9th of April 2016. It's very quiet here. If it's jets, you can hear them always. It was an extremely quiet night and absolutely no sound with these objects. If you look at my timing, 11-ish, and tracking northeast, it ties up with the other viewings. Pretty cool. So then the second report, my camera's blocking the corner of it. Okay, I'll keep going. So the second one, yeah, this is where it gets a bit weird because Oxford is northeast of where we were, but they saw do they call it three lights as well? Yeah, they saw three lights before we did, and I think they also said it was heading northeast as well. Did they? I'm just scanning through the text. No, I don't think they say which direction. But this is why we can't class it as being the same objects, like Gary was saying. Um, this is a different sighting. It happened before we saw ours. And I do have a document later on in the slides that shows that there were other military aircraft in the air that evening. Um, so it could be that they saw the other ones. Um, I don't know, because if we read these details, they're not behaving like craft. If this is accurate, so I'll read what they said. They said, I was a passenger driving to Banbury from Bicester on the back road heading towards Baynard's Green service station. I noticed an orange-coloured light, so the same colour as what we saw, moving fairly swiftly alongside the car, heading in the same direction we were going. I'm guessing it was maybe a mile or two away from us. I didn't really think much of it at the time. 3 or 4 minutes later, we stopped at the services at Baynard's Green to put fuel in the car. While we were leaving the petrol station, we saw the same light, but this time it had split into two orange lights. See, planes don't split in two, so that's one difference at least. Stationary as well in the sky, just across from the M40. At first I thought it was a plane turning and the two lights were the wings, but what was strange, it was totally stationary for the whole time I watched it, maybe 3 minutes. They were positioned one light above the other, with the bottom left off to the right of the top light. Then a third just appeared from the top light. You see, it's sounding less like planes. And I do wonder, I'm not overly skeptical, but in fact, the Birmingham talk, I pretty much was saying I'd decided they were aliens at that point. So I think I'm just kind of sense checking myself a little bit and thinking, what is a rational explanation is the one. But anyway, sorry. Um, so they were looking now at three lights in a diagonal line positioned in the sky. By this time, I was on the motorway heading north towards Banbury, with the lights to the left of us. The objects began to separate slowly. I watched them for the whole 9 miles I travelled on the motorway, and we didn't pass them, meaning that they must have been a great distance away. They were very bright and moved apart slowly from each other. They moved a long way from each other, separated in different directions, but remained in a diagonal line. Then they just disappeared into thin air. I've never seen anything like this. One other thing that I did note, there was a police car parked on one of the motorway bridges facing towards where the lights would have been, but by this time they had disappeared. I would have said they were lanterns, but they don't just materialize from one another. Plus, before it split into three, the lights were moving quickly through the sky. Very strange. I just want to add, loads of people must have seen this, as it was right on the side of the M40 in full view. That one is very strange, very strange. So there were three K-135 tankers, which are aircraft refueling big planes. They were in the sky. Oops, actually, let me get my facts straight. They were in the sky around that time, and there were another three which were also in the sky around that time. So it's quite unusual to have six or two pairs of three um, aircraft refueling planes to be in the sky at the same time. So that's what's kind of making me try and fit that fact with what these reports are saying. But the reports don't fit the description of those planes, so it's a tricky one. So anyway, on to the third report. So this is the A421 Milton Keynes to Buckingham, which is also further north than where we were, and this was at 11:30. So again, we've got to take them as potentially completely different craft to the one that we just looked at, even though it was only 10 minutes later. And they're saying that it looked exactly like the video that we uploaded, and they're saying it appeared to be stationary. So it's unlikely that it's going to be the same objects that we saw, because ours were heading northeast and they're already northeast, and they saw it earlier. So they said that they noticed three lights, the same as the New Forest video, and they appear to be stationary. They were equally spaced in a horizontal line and very bright. At first we questioned whether they were Chinese lanterns, but they didn't appear to be moving. We continued to observe them as we drove along and then pulled over. Then they started flashing, as in the New Forest video, and we assumed they were army helicopters flying in unison and thought no more of it. However, on searching the internet today, we saw the video taken over the New Forest, which is identical to what we witnessed. Um, hmm. So yeah, very, very interesting. It's interesting that they saw the flashing as well, because we only saw the flashing with the infrared. So they must have been closer or just had a better view of it, I guess. So then here's the fourth report time-wise. So this was 11:30 slash 45, so they weren't sure exactly. But they said, we picked our son up from work in Balnhurst to come home, and they were heading towards the A6, and they noticed two orange lights in the sky. So orange again, only two, they said, which looked like lights on the tips of a plane's wing, so they were horizontal. The right light was brighter than the left, and they were low in the sky when we carried on. And sorry, when they were low in the sky, we carried on when I noticed that the lights were now vertical. As we were travelling along, it didn't seem like they were moving very much, if at all. As it was odd, I kept trying to watch them. When we got to Thurley Road, they were ahead of us, slightly to the left. We turned right out onto Thurley Road, and within moments I said to my son, it's turned into a triangle of three close together orange lights. We kept watching as we approached a small roundabout on the A6. They were nearer. We went around the roundabout and onto the A6 towards Northampton A45. The triangle of orange lights was now to our left, and they seemed to separate, and all went overhead slowly. There was no sound apart from our car. I couldn't see anything then for a while, but a little while later I thought I saw them to my right, and they were then flashing like a plane. But they didn't seem to be any sound when they went over us, maybe due to road and vehicle noise. It was a bit frightening, as the main part of the sighting we were alone on the road. I tried to take some pics, but the flash wasn't working. They couldn't get a good picture. They would do a sketch, but it would be basic. So interesting that they saw three orange lights, but it was in a triangle formation. Um, from the video that I got, it's possible that they were in triangle formation. You can't really see from from that angle. It's possible, but I don't know. So yeah, very interesting. But that was again, that was 11:30. So the ones that are around the Bedford, Oxford area were around 11:20, 11:30. But then one we saw was 11:35, which we saw for 10 minutes, so until 11:45. Um, if I was going to guess, I would say that the one in Cornwall, which was heading our way at 11, is probably the what we saw, and the ones around the Bedford area was something else, possibly. If it was planes, then possibly the other three planes that were in the area. But anyway, I'll move on to the next one. So this is our account, which I put onto our website at the time, which I think is exactly what I said already. Let me just see if there's anything different. No, it is exactly the same. Yeah, okay. Okay, so then the last time-wise sighting, there was another sighting actually, which I'm going to come on to next. I think I've called that one the seventh one, even though it happened earlier. I'll explain in a minute. But basically, that was a witness we only discovered later. It wasn't reported via beams like these were. But anyway, so this one happened at 11:47 in Northampton, and they said glowing lights. Just witnessed a group of lights in a row, around four, all moving in the same direction. At first I thought they were planes heading in the same direction, but after a few minutes the lights would flash on and off, and they all moved at the same time, sometimes slow for a few seconds, then fast. Unfortunately they couldn't get any video. So they said around four, so it sounded like they're not sure if it was four, but could be three, could be four. Um, yeah, interesting that they thought they were planes, but the flashing was odd, I guess. I'm not sure what they mean by slow and fast, if they mean the flashing was slow and fast or the planes were slow and fast. Um, so one thing we did say, actually, try not to get too distracted, too sidetracked. Um, but yeah, one thing we didn't do, which we would have probably liked to do, would be speak to these witnesses. And Dave, who's passed away now, he did contact Beams and asked for their personal, well, contact details, but they wouldn't give it to him, which is fair enough. So um, yeah, I do kind of feel like I could have possibly followed up on that because I've spoken to Ken who runs Beams, and if I'd asked him, he might have passed them on, but as Dave didn't know him, he just said no, sorry, can't give out any personal information. So we never did that part of the investigation. Um, so yeah, we can only do what we can do, I guess. So the other report, this one came quite a bit later, was Philip and Ronald Kinsella. So they are fairly well-known people. If you are into this subject, you probably know them. They give talks on the subject at various places, conferences. They have podcasts. They're on the show called Paranormal UK radio network. Um, they have books on the subject. So, so it's interesting that they also saw, and I have to call it um, separate lights because we can't say for sure that they're the same, but they also witnessed UFOs on that night. So they were in Bedford as well, just like a couple of the other sightings, so probably was the same thing. And it was 11:15. So I think I took this quote from, where did I take it from? Either Philip's Facebook page or possibly YouTube. Um, yeah, but anyway, I discovered this from an interview he was giving with I might be getting confused because I don't know, they've mentioned it a couple of times, but I think it was Soma Arar was her name. She is a psychic and she has a YouTube channel. And I remember she was interviewing Philip and he talked about it, and I think that was when I first heard of it. And I did speak to Philip about it and had a bit of a chat and got his kind of statement. Um, yeah, actually thinking about it, I think that's probably where I got this text from. It's probably when I spoke to him. Mm. Anyway, so he said at exactly 11:15 on a cold but clear night, my twin and I were witness to three huge circular white. And this is interesting. He's the only person who said that they were white, and he's very certain about it. And I have asked him if he's sure, because it does seem that he was very close to what he saw. Um, so he said three huge circular white UFOs, which appeared to us right above our home in Kempston. He said he'd driven back from Copple, Bedfordshire, with his brother after an early birthday meal with friends, and saw the massive UFOs hovering in a triangular formation. They made no sound, and after about 5 minutes of observation, aligned themselves with military precision before moving off silently. He said his niece captured them while on her way back home from the same meal we'd attended in Marston Morsane, where she lives. She pulled her car over, filmed this, and tried to contact me on my phone while we were parking up and encountered them. Obviously, they were on their way to us. And he says this is all documented in his book, A Passage Through Eternity, pages 100 to 102. Charlie, who's his niece, found the footage which she thought was lost and now um, has agreed to show the three objects she captured while driving home. Okay, so I just want to have a really quick scan. When I'm reading, I'm not kind of absorbing it as much. I'm trying to not slip up on my words, so I just want to make sure I'm not missing anything. So yeah, when I spoke to him, that's one thing that's not in this, but he said they were like dinner plates. Is the kind of size, I guess. So they were quite large discs that appeared over him, and no sound. So it's very interesting, very interesting. Bedford, and I'm going to get onto this in a minute or two. Well, I'm on slide 11 of 44. I was wondering how long this would take as well, because I wasn't too sure. Um, yeah, there's an RAF base to the northeast of Bedford called RAF Mildenhall, and that's where these planes were coming from. But so I spoke to Philip at the Awakening conference last year, um, and I don't want to say anything too negative, but I I spoke to him very briefly, and he pretty much shut me down and didn't want to speak to me because I suggested that they might be planes, and he said they were certainly not planes, and he kind of cut me off at that point, and then spoke to somebody else. So I just kind of left. So yeah, that I think was that the only time I met him. I think it might have been. I spoke to him before just on Skype. Um, yeah, but strangely though, Dave Twine, he travelled up from Portsmouth to see Philip. So he travelled up to Bedford, which is a couple hundred miles, to talk about it. And I think they had a good chat because they were kind of on the same page, saying, yeah, these weren't planes, these were something else. So yeah, I guess you don't want to suggest that they're planes to Philip if you want to be friends with him, I guess. But yeah, anyway, I digress. So yeah, so in his book, I thought I'd have a look at his book to see if there's any more information on top of what he'd said previously, and there was a couple of extra um, bits of information. So yeah, I think he said in his statement that I have to go back now. Oh, I can't go backwards. Wow. Should have tested that before. Can't go back. But anyway, okay. So, bit of extra info that wasn't in the previous statement is that he saw them initially when he was driving home, and they appeared to be about half a mile away. But then when he got home, is when they appeared to be directly overhead and stationary and in a triangular formation. And yeah, this is a bit of extra info as well. He said that the far left object began moving slowly towards the middle one, while the other two remained stationary. It then stopped for a time, then moved back slowly to its original position. All three then rearranged into a straight line, equal distance apart, and moved off into the distance. And then they spoke with his niece, who confirmed they were three white craft traveling west to east. Um, so yeah, that's not plane behavior, definitely. And I'm not saying to Philip that what he saw was planes. All I was kind of saying is there is information that there were three planes in that area at that time. But he insists they're not planes, just like my former friend insisted that what we saw were not planes as well. So yeah, I mean, I don't know. I have no proof either way. But yeah, this was a very big event. There was a lot of strange stuff that night, which you just can't explain. Um, Stationary, moving forwards and backwards. This isn't plane behavior at all. Um, I haven't got any. I mean, yeah, I haven't got any information as to what they could be. So they're UFOs. So this is the video that Charlie Philip's niece took. So she was some distance away. There you go. So yeah, I mean they look white to me. Um, can't really tell if they're moving or not. It's a fairly short clip. but very interesting. And there is a picture as well, which was sent to Philip. Someone else in the Bedford area took that from their porch. You can see at the top it says "top of porch" is what um, is in the top of the picture, and then you can see the three white, and they look white and there in that picture. So yeah, so okay, so this is where I try and find out if the MOD had anything in the area. So I sent a FOI request to them shortly after in 2016. I can show you a zoomed in picture. But their response, okay, sorry. Oh, you kidding? I can't go back. I can't go back. Okay. Their response basically was that they didn't have any information, um, but I could try the CAA, the Civil Aviation Authority. Um, so I did get in touch with them, and that's the slide one now. I can't believe I can't go back. That's terrible. Really not go back. No. Okay. So yeah. So anyway, I went to the CAA, and they said the same. They said it's down here. I'm not going to go to the next slide in case I'm not sure if I've got a zoomed in version or not. They said the information you've requested is not held by the CAA. We're not an air traffic control provider, and we do not track individual aircraft movements. But they said maybe NATS know. Why don't you ask them? So I asked NATS. Um, yeah, I did have a zoomed in version of that. Okay, fine. So then I spoke to NATS, and they said nope. We're unable to give you any information. We don't publish flight plans or commercially confidential information in respect of aircraft operators. Um, and they also can't identify particular aircraft in UK controlled airspace for interest purposes because it's a long and costly process. So the MOD said they didn't have any information. CAA said try NATS, and NATS said no as well. So that was not a good outcome. So then I did go onto the Plane Finder app. This is me filming my tablet. I went onto the Plane Finder app to see if there was anything on there. So I'm going to press play on here. I think this video is quite long, so I'm not going to play all of it. But I went, yeah, okay, this was 2019 when I did this. This would have been around the time I gave the talk at Birmingham Group. So I set it back to 2016 and 11 o'clock. If it was commercial craft, I think it shows some military craft on Plane Finder. I can't quite remember, but definitely commercial stuff. You can just see traffic acting as normal. There's no groups of three coming up from the southwest heading northeast. And I think let me see if I can speed this up a little bit. Yeah, so this is 11:20 now, which is when it was all kicking off around Oxford and Bedford, and there's commercial aircraft. I'm not sure if commercial aircraft gets diverted, if it would then show us them as being diverted on here as well, possibly, but I don't know. And then this time here is when we saw them around the New Forest, which is just near Southampton, and then there's nothing showing on Plane Finder. I'm going to move on to the next slide. I can if it lets me. How's this video going anyway? It's pretty bad. I've made a couple of mock-ups. We'll see. It's good practice anyway. I might give this talk in person at some point. This is good practice. Gives me an idea of what not to say. Can I skip this to the end? Okay. Yeah, okay. Yeah, interesting. I wasn't sure if it came onto this slide next. So, yeah, David, as I said, he contacted a lot of people saying, hey, check out this video. What do you make of it? he contacted Philip Mantle, who's a UFO. Don't know what word I should use, if I should say enthusiast or investigator. He's a publisher of books. But anyway, he contacted Philip Mantle and asked him to have a look at it. I won't read this whole thing, but you can, if you pause the video, you can have a read. He was very enthusiastic. There's a lot of capitals. It says down here the best UFO footage ever. So he really believed it was something. Sent it to Philip Mantle, and I've said / Jason Gleaves because what Philip Mantle did was just forward it onto Jason Gleaves. Weren't we weren't impressed with this at all. So this bottom one here is Philip's email to Jason. He just said, "These lights look like military helicopters. What do you think?" That's basically what his 2 sentences said to Jason. He said, "Hi Jason, have a look at this. Personally, I think they're aircraft." So, oh yeah, sorry, I'm reading this the wrong way up. This is Philip's message to Jason. I personally think they're aircraft, he said. Jason then said, "Yeah, they look like 3 helicopters." And he said, "Yeah, to the untrained eye, it would look unusual." So Jason is admitting there that his eye is trained. He knows. He knows the helicopters going at 300 miles an hour, 100 miles an hour, more than the fastest helicopter in the world. But okay, sorry, I don't want to get sued. I'm going to move on to the next one. And I think this bothered us because Philip Kinsella sent his niece's video to Jason Gleaves. And Jason's like, "Oh, wow, this is amazing." And it's basically the same thing. So, because I guess, I don't know, I don't want to jump to conclusions. I don't want to say why I think he was nicer to Philip's footage than ours. But anyway, he did a proper analysis on his, where he could barely even be bothered to type an email to ours. This isn't the point of this video. I'm going to move on. So he said he's analysed on enhanced frames taken from the original source to enhance overall detail. So this was on Jason Gleaves' YouTube channel. He even added cinematic music for effect. So here you go. I mean, that's making an assumption there, saying that they're triangle. Yeah. So, yeah, make of that what you will. I'm just going to move on to the next one. So, yeah, so I didn't get Jason's treatment of the footage that we sent him, but I did my own kind of messing around. Can't remember what program I was using. It might be an Adobe Premiere or something like that. I had a month's trial, and I was trying to stabilize the image to just see if it would make it a bit clearer. So I was changing the contrast because there's a lot of kind of background fuzz with the night vision I've got. It's fairly rubbish when it comes to that. So I adjusted the contrast, and I did manage to stabilize it a little bit. So here we go. This was the start of the video where they were closest to us, I guess. just to see if we can make any additional detail out. And this is where I found that there's an extra 3 lights. Um, so we can see these heading to the right of the screen, but there's 3 other lights heading kind of down. And the next video, on the next slide, kind of it's me slowing and rewinding it back so you can see that there's 3 other lights heading down. No idea what they were. Satellites possible, but 3 in parallel. Don't know. But there's nothing else that I kind of got out of this video apart from it's just good to see it stable and with a lot of the noise removed. So yeah, yeah. Before I press play, I'm filming my computer screen because I wanted to rewind the video and replay it, and I don't know if there's an easier way. Maybe there was, but anyway, I'm filming the computer screen. Here we go. So if I go backwards and forwards, you can see those 3 lights kind of going down and back up. It's just helped me to kind of pinpoint them. I don't know if you can see my mouse, but that's one there. That's the big one. And then there's one there in the middle. And then there's one there, just lowest down one. Hopefully you can see that. I don't remember how long this video is. It's pretty much done. Okay, so on to the next one. So yeah, I also tried to, reading the title on this one, flashing with contrast adjusted. Okay, this was the sort of last part of the video. Yeah, just trying to get a clearer picture because it looked to us at times like there was 4 lights because it was kind of so erratic. It was hard to say whether there was 3 or 4. So I was trying to focus in on that part. Didn't do a great job, and it's still hard to tell, really, for sure. The next video, I did manage to stabilize the image a little bit, but not enough to still really tell if there were 3 or possibly 4 lights at that point. Okay. Same video, just a bit more stable. Okay, I realise I've been going for 53 minutes already, and it's quite late. I should go to bed. But yeah, I don't think there's too much more to go through. Just a little bit. So yeah, so I think the next sort of thing I was doing in my sort of investigations, if you can call it that, was looking into similar sightings. And there was one a couple of months previously in London on the 19th of February, and that was at 5:18 a.m. So he said this. I found it on YouTube. He said that it was stationary at first and then moving in a constant speed and direction, and it was red/orange in color. So this is his video.
Got 3 objects in the sky. Oh my god. 3 objects moving. The time is 5:28 in the morning. Whatever that is massive. Got 3 objects in the sky.
Playing it twice. Yeah, so completely different, different night, different event, but the same formation. Yeah, and they look like very similar objects. So yeah, so this is, I think I just discovered this a couple of months ago. Actually, I thought I'd add it to the slides just because it seems quite common that you get 3 lights in a formation. These, again, this is a completely different sighting. This was in Hull. It was in their local paper a couple of months ago, and they had a very short video. They were walking the dog, and they saw these orange lights. Yeah, completely different event. Just interesting. It's another formation of 3 orange lights. Could be lanterns. It's hard to tell. Okay, let's go on to an advert for Sky. Yeah, okay. So this is where the plane theory comes from, and it is only a theory. So yeah, I posted it on the Facebook page. I think probably on one of the anniversaries of the April 9th sighting, and one of our members. And I'm very happy to talk about any kind of potential answers that they might have. So I was quite open to what he had to say. He had some evidence that there were 3 KC-135 tankers in the area that night, because he's a plane spotter. He's on these sites where they log that kind of thing. So he said, I don't want to take up too much more time, but he did share the sheet which showed the details of these aircraft, which I've got on the next slide, and it showed that they took off from RAF Mildenhall at 7:30, and they landed at 11:38. So yeah, I've got a map coming up as well, which kind of shows that position compared to Bedford and areas around there. And he did say it doesn't show what route they took, but, and this is just his kind of opinion. He said they regularly refuel off the coast of Cornwall when they deploy to the Middle East, and there was a news article showing that there was a deployment to the Middle East around that time. So it is quite likely that they would have gone down to Cornwall, refueled some craft, and then come back up. He said he knows it's not conclusive, but that's why he feels that they were KC-135 tankers. So this, I've got a zoomed in version. This is the log, which I think came from the plane spotting website. It shows these Quid 120, 121, 123. They are 3 KC-135s. taking off from RAF Mildenhall at 7:30 and landing at 11:38. Um, I know I can't go backwards on the slide, so I did want to point out the other three, which I mentioned, which aren't round in these red boxes. But these three KC-135s also took off from RAF Mildenhall at 10:50, or between 10:50 and 11:03. But I haven't got any information about when they returned. And this is one thing which I haven't followed up on. The other three, these three, I have, and I can show you the FOI requests in a minute or two about these ones. But yeah, I haven't bothered with these just because what came back from these ones was not any use really, unfortunately. Anyway, I'll move on to, this is a KC-135 and it's refueling a something jet. That's what they look like. And then this is the news article from the same date saying that that some B-52 bombers had been deployed or were going off to the Middle East. So it is quite possible that these KC-135s refuel them off Cornwall, but I haven't got confirmation that that happened. So this is RAF Mildenhall, where they did take off from. So there were some at 10:50, between 10:50 and 11, and then there was the other ones at 7:30, and then landing at 11:40. So Bedford is over here to the southwest, and then we've got Milton Keynes, Northampton, and then we keep travelling down, then we kind of are following a similar sort of path. This is a map showing military routes, basically. So you can see there is a kind of military route called TR1, which comes from the southwest of the country, and it does kind of follow. Oops, sorry. Oh, you kidding? Why? It skipped a couple of slides. Yeah, you can see it going northeast to RAF Mildenhall. I'm not sure what that other slide was that I just skipped. Fine. So yeah, so I asked the MOD again, what about these KC-135s then? And I don't know why in my initial request when I said, was there anything in the area? They said, don't know. And there were KC-135s. So I got in touch with them again and I said, can you tell me about these? They replied and said, I can confirm that, I'll just read it word for word. I can confirm that information in the scope of your request is not held. So I replied to them again and I basically said, why? Why is it not held? Did I word it wrong? So why? You're telling me no. And they replied again and they said that the three KC-135 aircraft that you raised questions on are United States of America owned, and because of this, we don't hold information on them. So I don't know why they couldn't tell me that in the first place, rather than just saying we don't have any information. They could have said it's USA Air Force you need to speak to. But anyway, yeah, I've got a zoomed in version of the slide. So then, I think this is pretty much the end of my investigation. I spoke to the FOI request for the USA Air Force, and they came back basically saying here we go. A thorough search was conducted. So I asked them, I said, these KC-135s, can you tell me where they went, or if you can't tell me where they went, can you tell me what route they took back to RAF Mildenhall, along with any other information you can share about these aircraft and this journey. And they said, after a thorough search was conducted, We did not locate any responsive records to your request. Based on the results of the search, we must provide a no records response. So yeah, they were completely no help at all. And this was recently. I only sent this a couple of months ago because, like I think I said, the group kind of sort of has been a bit off and on lately, and I'm kind of getting back into it again after a couple of years where I haven't really done anything for various reasons. So I did want to kind of see if I can get any kind of bit more information or a conclusion. Um, so I've still got, I think they said you've got 90 days. Yeah, email us within 90 days if you want to appeal for this, including your reasons. I haven't done that, and I don't know if I'll bother. I would like to know about those other KC-135s, but if it's anything like this, then it's going to be a waste of time. So, pardon me, just going to burp a couple of times into my microphone. So yeah, I wasn't sure what to put in as my last slide. Said, I don't know, what's next? Is there a conclusion? So I think the next steps would be to follow up on those FOI requests. I don't know if I will, just because I don't think really they're gonna give me any conclusive information. So where I've said conclusion question mark, um, I don't think we've identified them as aircraft. I think if the reports are accurate, then the behavior of the objects are not like aircraft. Um, I think with our one at the New Forest, they could be aircraft. I think the flashing is very strange, but I do think that they could be aircraft. But at the moment, I haven't got evidence that puts those aircraft there. So it would be nice to know. So yeah, this is the last slide. Thankfully, I'm probably going to watch this back tomorrow and see if I'm going to put it on the YouTube channel or not. But it was at least good for me to run through this. And maybe I'll put it past my fellow Hampshire UFO group guys at some point. Okay, so I'm gonna hit stop and go to sleep. I was gonna set up my night vision and point it out the window because it's a starry night and it is the anniversary. So yeah, maybe I'll do that. All right, see you later.